Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Mike Cho, physical therapist. Hey, today we've got a special guest. Her name is Dr. Vicki Landers. We'll be back in a few seconds, okay?
HelloNote is a truly therapist-friendly practice management solution with integrated EMR that will enhance workflow, efficiency, and patient care. HelloNote reduces error and allows you to spend more time with your patients. It comes integrated with billing. Claims are generated once a note is completed. You can bill with one click and a patient portal, which streamlines the patient intake process. Beautifully engineered and cloud-based for easy accessibility, the software works on all platforms. You can access patient records from anywhere. We also offer 24/7 support. HelloNote is the practice management solution that you're looking for.
Well, we are back. If you're watching live, comment live, watching on a replay, comment replay. Hey, if you are needing a documentation system, check out HelloNote. We use that in our outpatient clinic. And of course, if you need continuing education units, use medbridge.com. Use the code alternative or AHC or Dr. Mike. You get a 40% discount. All right. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our special guest. Our guest for today is Dr. Vicki Lander. She's a physical therapist and turned a healthcare leader. She's the board member and an ICF certified coach who understands what it feels like to question your place in profession that once you have loved. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Dr. Vicki Landers. There you
Sorry.
go. Let me put in some applause there.
Yeah.
All right, Vicky. Well, for those people who don't know, Vicky and I, we met each other at the Alternative Healthier Career Group, and then I also saw her in the APTA CSM recently. So I said, well, let's go ahead and do this real quick. So, Vicky, please tell us again who you are, what you do, and how can you help us?
Hi, I'm a physical therapist by training. I've been one since 1993, and I have gone through a bunch of career transitions in my life, from practicing clinician to leader to IT strategist and analyst. And in the course of that, I also became a coach. And what I do now is I work with people who are in healthcare who are trying to navigate some kind of transition, and that transition may be peer to supervisor, clinical to non-clinical, clinical to retirement. Or my very favorite folk, the people who, you guys are high achievers, the people who have met every single goal that they ever set out. And then they look ahead and they realize they've got 15 years left in their career, and they're trying to figure out what it is that's going to keep them engaged and giving them purpose and meaning for the rest of their healthcare career.
It's very powerful. So tell me again, what prompted you to change, 1993, those were the days, right?
Yeah.
When I tell my kids I graduated in the 90s, they're like, seriously, dad? So have you seen those videos about, when were you born? 2000, 2000. And then all of a sudden they pan to us born in the 90s. So 19s. Well, anyway, what prompted you to change your from clinical to coaching?
Well, there were a lot of steps along the way. I'm primarily a home care clinician, so I worked in the home care space as a clinician and as a supervisor for a number of years. But one of the things that I noticed as I was doing some IT work, I was watching people get really frustrated when I would teach them something new. I teach clinicians how to do something different, and some people would just like grab it and run with it. And some people would be like, you'd think I'd stolen their first child. And so I started just watching how people were acting and reacting. And I thought it was really interesting because this is about human behavior. And, I was applying it to how I worked with patients and how you get some patients to engage and how you don't get other patients to engage. So I started going down this, how can I better support the people that I work with and that I work for, the clinicians and the patients? And I fell into this rabbit hole of coaching, which is really all about, it's not about telling anybody what to do. It's not about being a mentor or a consultant. It's really helping people tap into what's meaningful to them so that they can live a life that it lines up with what their actual values are and what their actual purpose is. And that has become something that's really fun for me. I still work with some fitness clients. And so I do a little work with people, but I'm really focused on how to help people change behaviors and line up their lives with what they're really wanting. Because so much of the time, those of us in healthcare, We're in healthcare because, well, somewhere in our teenage years, we decided that this was a good idea because of a family member, or maybe, we had an experience, and then we fell into this and we just kept going and going because that's what we were expected to do. And we don't always recognize why we're doing what we're doing. And that's what I want to help people do.
So powerful, so powerful. So what are the typical clients that you serve, when you're coaching?
Sometimes it's somebody who's just been, well, they're really aspiring to be a leader. So they've been a clinician for a long time and they're like, I feel like I've got this. I'm not getting the joy I used to. And so I want to support the people that I work with. And so they're trying to figure out how to position themselves into a leadership position, whether in their organization or sometimes they're thinking about entrepreneurship, but just really helping them pinpoint what matters to them and what sort of risks and tolerances they have. But so that's one of my great clients, is moving from peer to supervisor. And then it's also that person who has been working in a same facility or system for 20 years, and they're just getting frustrated with the same old of the system. They still like being a clinician, but they're wondering what else might be out there. And I've had people come to me, they're like, I have to get a remote job. I have to. And we stop. And I'm like, now wait, why do you believe you have to get a remote job? And we dug into it and discovered that she didn't need a remote job. She needed a job where she worked with a smaller team. And it just needed to be a difference of her day-to-day interactions. She wanted to stay a clinician. She just didn't want to be a clinician in the current system she was in because that had gotten old. And there's
That's so true. People think that the remote job is like the ultimate escape. No, actually, it's much harder to work in a remote. First, it's much harder to get hired in a remote job. Second, it's much harder to do it because there's so much productivity that I have remote workers that works for me, and I pressure them more than the actual therapist that I have here in our clinic, because it's harder. Well, anyway, and also like what you said about maybe just changing your current setting. All right. If you've been working for that facility for 10, 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years, sometimes all you need to do is change your setting, change your environment. We as therapists, we're so, we love loyalty, right? We were loyal to one hospital, one nursing home, one clinic, or whatever. I'm not saying to all my therapists who are watching to quit and transfer, right? I need you all guys working for me. But, sometimes if you are really burned out, it shows how you treat your patient. It shows how you treat the family members of your patient. And it's just frustrating. And sometimes all you need to do is change that environment and you'll realize how blessed you are. Volunteering, if you're watching right now, if you are burned out and you hate your patients, there are therapists like that. They literally die going to work and they hate their job. Please quit and change your setting and you're doing a disservice if you are burned out. So Vicky, let me go back to you. How can you prevent this burnout that's happening in our profession? Because there's a lot of therapists out there who are literally dying to go to work, figuratively and this and literally, right?
And it makes me so sad when you say, dying to go to work and people who hate their patients. But it makes sense. We're in an industry right now where we've got pressures from all sides. We've got insurance regulations. We've got productivity standards. We've got flattening of the income curve. We've got high debt from schools. We've got, patients who are frustrated, coworkers are frustrated. So I don't want to say this doesn't make sense, because it does make sense. And one of the things that I like to talk to people about is, how are you viewing your world? Because how you show up and how you see the world actually can make a really big difference. If I see myself as a victim, I'm going to behave as a victim. If I see myself as somebody who enters into a space with curiosity, I'm going to enter into a space with curiosity. And we can change those lenses. And so that's what I talk to people a lot about, is like, how are you seeing your world and what might be a different way to see it and experience it? Because when we change, I have this thing that I say, that the lens that you wear creates the attitude that you bring. Your attitude results in your behaviors, their influence, and that influence results in the culture of the organization where you work. So sometimes changing the place you work just starts by changing the lens you wear. Or sometimes if you really see everybody else's lenses and they're all wearing this victim lens and you're like, I don't want to tap into that anymore. Looking for an organization that fits your values and your culture and what you want to experience sometimes can make all the difference in the world.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful. Being, I hate to say this, but there are a lot of therapists out there who are in this victim mentality mode. Our profession is created under a victory mentality, wherein we were created to be victors, not victims, right? And I like what you said about changing lenses.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Last night or 2 nights ago, I was watching. I'm an immigrant. I just got my citizenship. So in my head,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you, Vicky. In my head, I'm like, why are these immigrants coming here stealing our jobs? No, just kidding. Why are these immigrants coming here and why don't they do it the right way? Just between you and me, Vicky, and people who are watching, I spent thousands, probably around 80K just to be here legally. Legally, right? But I got to pay the lawyers and everything. But I was watching this documentary about from India, from South America or South Africa, going to a different, going to lengths, months, and years to travel. And you know what? How much they pay? They pay thousands of dollars too. And in my head, oh gosh, these are people who are looking at their. I was looking at the lens from inside looking out. And sometimes we have to go back out and look at what is it that America has that people are wanting to come here. And here we are blessed. We are working in living in the greatest country in the world, and we still complain. And you got immigrants like me or immigrants from South America, South Africa, wherever, India, dying, literally dying. They go to this desert and they pass by dead people along the way in the Panama Canal or whatever. Crazy months and sometimes years of them walking. They show the blisters in their feet. All of a sudden, my mindset changed, Vicky. I changed my lens of, from outside looking in now. Because I was already inside. I'm inside here in the United States. I'm looking out there and looking at them. Why are you wanting to come here? You come here legally too, like what I did, right? And then when I watch those videos, they're from the outside and they look at us, you and me. Oh, this person is so blessed. There's this one other guy. Um, he was an Indian guy traveling from India to France because apparently France, according to his mindset, that France is being there's a helicopter that flies over France that sprays perfume. That's why France smells so good, apparently in his head. And he traveled months and months. They documented it. They gave him a little camera or whatever, you know, and they've traveled months just to go to France and pay thousands of dollars too. And they see that opportunity. And here we are feeling victims. So I love how you said about changing the lens, how we look at things, because that's how you're going to change your mindset. That's how you're going to change your outlook in life. That's how you're going to level up your game in taking care of our patients and going to your next level of victory instead of being a victim. So Vicky, thank you for pointing that out. I was kind of tired already, but tell me more about the next level of once you change their mindset and their lens. What else do you do with them?
Yeah. So we start by sort of identifying what the lens is, and then I actually have a program that I do. It's the LEAP program. It's like learn about how you got to where you are. So we stop and we go back to the beginning. Why are you a therapist? Why are you a physician or a nurse? What got you here? And you start to tap into the reason why you're there and how that really aligns with your current purpose. What is it that brought you to where you are? And what is it about you that got you where you are? Because if you're a PT, you went to school for a long time. That's what we did. So you have all this education, you had dedication, you had the ability to get through some really hard stuff. So tapping back into what it was about you that got you where you are, and then really talking about current values. We sometimes get stuck in our, like, what we valued when we were in college and when we were younger, and we like believe that that's our value forever. So I give people permission to really look at what's important to them now. Is it having family life? Is it having the ability to travel? Is it freedom? Is it really making sure you have an amazing nest egg for retirement? Whatever it is, it's yours and it's individual to you. So we figure that out. Then we start to think about what are the ways that you can implement all of your skills and your talents to figure out what lines up with what's next and how it really lines up with your purpose and your mission. Because when you can tap into your purpose and your mission and your why, that will take you through so many troubles and so many hard times where you might not be making the money that you were making before, but you have a purpose. And so we really tap into that, and then we set out a plan. So we create the plan for you. Well, you create the plan. I'm alongside of you, helping ask the questions so that you can make a plan that works for you. And then you can execute that plan. So you're moving forwards into what has meaning for you. And you feel confident and capable of doing it because you're not stuck in the not understanding why you need to make a change. But the thing I really like to tell people is there's nothing wrong with feeling bad, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a change. What's bad is if you don't act on what your brain and your body is telling you needs to change.
That's so true. That's so true. I like what you said about what got you here, what got you there in your current situation. Go back to your roots. Just like when we're writing goals, right, Vicky? We have the previous level of function, we got the current level of function, and we got the goals too. And same thing if you're trying to advance your career, go into your next level. Figure out what were you before, where are you now, and where do you want to go to.
Yeah.
And we just forget that we're so focused on the current, the now, and we forget to declare the future. There's power in our words. And whatever we focus on, if you're watching, whatever you're focused on gets magnified. If you're focusing on that, what Vicky said, victim mentality, you're going to feel like a victim all the time. But if you focus on your goals, right, you're declaring, okay, I'm going to find this dream job or the next adventure, you'll be fine. There's power in the words. Words are vibration, and it releases certain power in the universe. That's why there's called prayer. You're releasing that prayer to God and letting him know that, hey, your promises are supposed to be given to me, and I need to claim that. And you have to claim that yourself. So thank you for that, Vicky. Vicky, what else do you do? Could you please share us more?
So I am also a speaker. I actually do presentations for organizations. I'm a professional speaker, and I work with mostly healthcare organizations and help the people within those organizations see the lens that they're wearing and understand that attitude results in the culture of their organization, and that they each individually, whether they are the CEO or they're the frontline clinician, everybody within an organization has the capacity to create the culture of the organization. So I help people see how that all works together, because what I think is so cool is that the evidence shows that when we're talking about healthcare, the patient's perception of the provider and everybody within the organization's attitude, it actually impacts patient outcomes. This has been shown to be true for hospital settings, outpatient settings. And so I help people sort of recognize on a bigger scale that the shifts that we make to our attitudes not only help how we feel about ourselves, but also make an impact in patients.
And you get to do an in-service to my staff, right?
I would love to. I would totally.
It's very important. It's funny you mentioned that, because the culture that you create for your team is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Here, I'm not bragging, but patient just follows me around. If I'm on the other clinic, and they know I'm going to this other clinic. We got several locations, Vicky. We got 12 other locations. If I go to the other clinic, they would follow me here where I'm at. And I don't normally come here. Just really depending on who I need to help out, what clinic I need to help out. I got clinicians who are like that. A perfect example is one of our PTA. Caitlin is her name. It's her birthday today. Shout out to Caitlin. Happy birthday.
Birthday.
Anyway, I pulled her out. First, she was doing home visits for me. Then I pulled her out from home visits. I put her on assisted living. And those assisted living patients followed her when we opened at our first location. And guess what? I pulled her out on that first location and put her in another clinic. And all those patients from that first clinic followed her there because that is, the culture. That is you have to be putting up, the energy, the power, the aura that you're showing to your patient they need to see, you're not all high and mighty because you got the doctorate degree. We're talking about my PTA who has an associate degree, and they follow her around. And that's the leadership that you need to create, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching live or watching on a replay, that's the leadership that you need to create. And how do you do it? You do it by following a leader like Vicki. Vicki, where can they find you? Where can they reach you? Do you have a website or an email list that you guys do?
I do. So you can find me. All my coaching information is at inprogresscoaching.com. All of my speaking information is at vickylanders.com. My email is vicky@vickylanders.com. And I love to just talk to people and meet people. And if you're just curious about what I can do as a coach for you, I do free discovery calls to just see if it's something that would work. Because I know that I can be helpful, but people need to experience that and know what coaching is all about. I did want to make one more comment, which is leadership is not a role. It is not a position. It is not a title. Leadership is behavior.
So true. That is so powerful there. You can be a leader, whether you are, whether you're a tech, you're an assistant, or a PT. It's not about the position. It's about your behavior. That's so true. That's so true. Again, thank you very much, Vicki. Any last parting wisdom for our team out there who wants to be a leader like you?
Well, I would say listen to your intuition, listen to your gut, give yourself permission to start exploring things that might be able to be different so that you no longer have to feel like a victim, but you can show up as a leader and as somebody who influences those around you in a positive way.
Well, again, thank you very much, Vicki. Appreciate you. But before I let you go, always remember the word FAST, F-A-S-T, letter F. Find people that will bring out the best in you because you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Today, I hang out with Vicki. I feel like I want to be a leader too, right? Next letter is letter A, take action. All this stuff that we're doing is not going to do me good. It's not even going to do Vicki good if you don't take action. Take action. Go to her website or email her. Her email is vicky@vickylanders.com. You'll take action. Just do a discovery visit with her. Next letter is letter S, is share and subscribe. The more shares, the better. I believe she has a Facebook page. You do have a Facebook page, right, Vicki?
I have a Facebook page. I'm more active on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, reach out to her, share and subscribe her LinkedIn. And last but not least is letter T, is teach it. Why? Because when you hear it, you forget. When you see it, you remember. But when you're actually teaching it, you're actually understanding it more. And that's what Vicki's doing. She's teaching us how to be a better leader. Again, thank you very much. Be awesome, be great, be excellent. And we'll see you in the next episode of our Jerry Hab Show.
HelloNote is a truly therapist-friendly practice management solution with integrated EMR that will enhance workflow, efficiency, and patient care.